Hello and welcome to Pluribus Fireside Chats. Not as FDRs, but hey, something. Now, you may have saw the episode, well, not the episode, but like the thing that came the day before this episode. And yeah, this is technically a continuation of the celebration of the 8-year anniversary of this channel. Because I did not have anything that could properly fill in this video slot. So, yeah. And if you want to technically add the pre-EPU career, technically, I've been doing this stuff for a long while, longer, a bit more than 8 years. But before we get into that, let's get right into the news. The first news story is, it's kind of a little bit of a twofer. I'm doing an analysis of two foreign elections that happened, like, on the same day. Because it just sort of coincided broadly with... I'll explain why. The two elections in question were the Scottish parliamentary election and the Wales parliamentary election. Both of those being related due to the fact that, of course, they're part of the United Kingdom. But these elections were for their internal parliaments, not the parliaments, not their representatives to the Westminster Parliament, but it's their internal parliamentary elections that was big. And it also coincided with some off-year elections in the UK, but one of the big things that we need to explain about this is that Labour is toast. Here are the results from the Scottish election. The Scottish National Party overwhelmingly won with 58 seats, which is them. They lost seats in this one, but they're still pretty noticeably got a big lead. But Labour lost 5 seats, making them tied with the Reform UK Party, which literally just won all of these seats in this election. And the Greens, who are basically going to help and aid the Scottish National Party to an extent, they gained a lot of seats as well, gained 7 seats. The Tories also lost pretty big, losing 19 seats, which is a bit more of a letdown than what happened with Labour. And you could probably think, well, I guess, it seems to coincide just with Reform UK doing well. And now moving on to Wales. Wales is the way more interesting development because the Welsh party played Cymru, the Welsh nationalists. They gained 30 seats in this election. Reform UK gained 34 seats. And Labour lost 21 seats. Now, there are some people who might want to, raise an eyebrow about, certain analysis of this election, purely due to the fact that these two areas have obviously vastly different politics than the UK proper. Again, they have two nationalist front parties, the Plaid Cymru and the Scottish National Party. But there's a big difference, in my opinion. Here's one of the things that I think this is one thing I think this really shows. This does show, obviously, that left-wing anti-Labour voices are obviously poised to do pretty well in every future. Well, not every single future. Obviously, the elections might have, things might change in a couple of years or whatever. But clearly, there is a lot more momentum in anti-Labour left-wing voices. You see, again, Reform UK did well in these elections as well. In Scotland, they're tied for second place. And in Wales, they have effectively become the second party. They are now the opposition. The question purely goes on to, does this momentum obviously is a riding the wave of the last UK elections where Reform UK started to gain, relevancy and power. And, coinciding with, broader polls in the United Kingdom that show, again, Reform UK is getting pretty prevalent. But, again, the question is, will this momentum trickle down to future UK elections broadly? The first question I would say is just the first question I looked up was basically just to see, would this trickle down to Northern Ireland? And obviously the answer is no, because Northern Ireland's politics are so vastly different from the, like, we literally just go to Northern Ireland and you'll see literally they technically don't have any parties that are affiliated with they technically don't have any parties that are technically part of the British mainland. Technically, the DUP is effectively the representatives for the Tories. Alliance technically is technically formed in alliance with the Liberal Democrats to an extent. Technically, Social Democrats and Labour obviously are connected to the Labour Party. I didn't know if they had an official formal coalition with them, but they apparently do. Scotland is kind of a little bit of a mix of, like, England politics and Irish politics to an extent. No, when I say that, I mean in the sense that Northern Ireland is so removed from, like, England politics, but Scotland still has. You can tell it has the Scottish National Party as their sort of main political party, and they do have a somewhat connection to, like, for example, their Green Party used to have a connection to the Green Party of the UK, of England and Wales broadly, but now they don't. And with that part, you also notice that they have a Green Party of England and Wales. They have the point where England and Wales literally share a political party, because Wales is a lot closer to what the UK politics is, but again, they still have a Plaid Cymru to form, like, a momentum outside of it. But this is the thing, again, the fact that, this is one of the things that is actually at least somewhat useful due to the fact that these two places do have these nationalist parties that are of the left. They are able to channel that nationalistic energy into a positive outcome. And I think the Welsh election shows a lot more of that than, of course, the Scotland election. Because the Scotland election, like, the Scottish National Party, they were already doing really well regardless. Like, they were already, the Scottish National Party had basically were in complete control of Scotland for a long period of time. But Plaid Cymru is, again, where this momentum is. I think they're the ones that are actually, I wouldn't necessarily say they're the big winners of the election, but I would say they're definitely the ones to make a good effort into. But to me, the question becomes a little bit more of, again, how will this relate to future United Kingdom elections more broadly? Because this is the first thing, this one will be abundantly clear. The rise of these nationalist parties will lead to a bit of a changing tide in UK politics, with the rise of, again, Scottish National Party, Plaid Cymru, and I will hedge my bets and say that this will also have a coinciding factor with the rise of people like Sinn Féin, which means that there's, I wouldn't necessarily say, quote unquote, like, there's a chance that the United Kingdom will fall, but again, the fact that these nationalist left-wing parties are doing well does show that there are some tensions that are now rising. But will this also coincide with, again, I think a lot of people do put in their mind the possibility that this will also coincide with a alternative left-wing force in the UK broadly to do well. The thing that is yet to be decided, although that might just be me being a little bit pedantic, but I would say the thing that has yet to be decided is whether or not this will be your party or the Greens. But if I had to my bets right now, I think we can probably take a wild guess that this one might necessarily, I'm just saying, sadly, one of these two groups has been doing a little better in their, at least, branding than, the other one. Anyway, speaking of branding, let's move on to a news story that technically might be old news-ish, but, it's a bit developing, and it's just a bit interesting. So, basically, a little bit ago, I think maybe like a week ago, there was some audio recordings that were leaked that were showing talks between the incumbent president of Honduras, Nasri Afuera, that's his name. We'll just call him Tito because it's his nickname. Tito was basically in talks with a couple of other, political figures, particularly Javier Milei, Nayib Bukele, and I think, and if I remember correctly, that was this one was the big one for that one, and it was the fact that he was in talks with Israel and the United States. And this was all in relation to the release of Juan Orlando Hernandez, Because as we all know, right before the election that was rigged in Honduras, there was Juan Orlando Hernandez. He was released from prison, despite the fact that he's in jail for being a narco trafficker. And the story has expanded a lot more, where it's being basically revealed, like it has been dubbed Hondurasgate, where like a Spanish newspaper has sort of been leaking tons of audio recordings where it shows Afuera, Trump, Israel, Javier Milei, Nayib Bukele, all of the typical figures in this like new right-wing force in Latin America, basically like talking about a plan they have to sort of build a misinformation network to specifically make it so that Gustavo Petro, like specifically targeting Gustavo Petro and Claudia Sheinbaum. Like this is. Let me just read a little bit about this. Let me just read a little bit about it in this news article where it goes into it. Like this is the translated version. It says here, in the conversation between Hernandez and Afuera, the former president tells the Honduran leader that he needs $550,000 to rent an apartment in the United States, where he plans to set up an office for digital journalism unit. This unit will publish information about Manuel Zelaya, who accused Trump of protecting the plunder of the state, referring to Hernandez's pardon last November, and about Xiomara Castro, who served as the president until handing power to Afuera. Someone else here from the U.S. president's team will handle it for me. Well, he's one of the Republicans who are helping us. They're going to set up a news site for us. Going on to state, I was telling President Afuera that we were able to speak with Javier Milei. He's also contributing $350,000. Another great friend of ours in Mexico is also providing for support specifically for the Mexican community. We're pretty much ready and hoping for this moves forward quickly. And this is all going to be like this is all coming from WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, and all those other sites and stuff. So it's like the website has released 37 recordings, making them available in their entirety, with each file, having some verification about, their truth. And, it goes on to go and explain about the involvement of Benjamin Netanyahu in this situation. So, yeah, it's just really strange to just have it, abundantly known and abundantly clear. This is the thing, it's weird. It's the people who would have been called tankies at one point for just implying any of this information would have been like, oh, come on, that's crazy. And then it's just we just have the information right here. And this is the weird thing. Normally we have to wait 50 years before this gets revealed. Where it's oh yeah, the CIA and all these other groups like Israel, Mossad, all those other people, they were all actually secretly destabilizing the governments of Latin America. Whereas normally we're supposed to get that revealed 15 million years later, not immediately. But I guess in the information age, it's just a lot more clear. It's just a lot more abundantly known. And again, all this is going on, and then you all expect me to, give a shit about Ruben Rocha. Really? No, fuck that, no, that is not happening. And it's literally the week this is released, Afuera is literally meeting with Isaac Herzog, the president of Israel. So it's just wow, again, you guys aren't even doing a good job at hiding the conspiracy. And this might be a good thing to an extent, because again, if these guys are just so bad at hiding the conspiracy, this is the thing that was just the reason why a lot of these things worked in the past, because they did a good job hiding the information. But these guys are just so blatantly incompetent and just so objectively evil that they just would just come right forward and just say it. But yeah, fuck that. Viva Latin America. Hopefully the Latin America finally wakes up and, becomes I don't know, like Marea Rosa, the Patria Grande is coming soon, my friends. And speaking of Latin America, another Latin American news story where there's a very, very, very interesting development coming from El Salvador. Because here's one of the big things that a lot of people, El Salvador, if we don't know, a lot of people have been trying to claim that El Salvador is having this massive victory against the cartels. It's one of the main things that a lot of the Western media has been trying to push. The idea that, I guess they have been that's a little bit here and there, but a lot of people on the right wing have tried to paint Nayib Bukele and his rise to power as a perfect blueprint for how the Latin American right wing should be, which is why a lot of the Latin American right wing just openly says they want to be the next Bukele, claiming that he's like taking like this big, massive effort against corruption and all of the drug cartels, blah, blah, blah. But then they never actually do any further research into what Nayib Bukele is doing. Like, I mean, well, they'll say they're doing it, but they don't. Like, I mean, because like the truth of the matter is, what Bukele is doing is literally just Nazi Germany. Don't believe me? He literally just calls his plan on this effort the state of exception, which is literally what the Nazis called their rise to power after the Enabling Act. But for most American rightoids, they don't understand this fact. They just literally have heard about by Bukele like last week, and now because Donald Trump likes him, they're going to suck him off. But here's one of the big things that has been going on. There's a newspaper in El Salvador named El Faro, and they have been really going hard against him. And one of the big things that happened is that they were investigating his connections to the drug cartels, because, shock of all shocks, similar to basically every right-wing administration in Latin America, Bukele has been talking with the drug cartels. And their big discoveries are the fact that basically Bukele just basically lets them walk on certain instances under the condition that they don't do certain things. And it's literally the blueprint that has been used for basically every right-wing administration in Latin America. They uncovered this, and now Nayib Bukele has conveniently decided to freeze the assets of all of the all of the people in this development. And surprisingly, this isn't the first time this has happened, because apparently the United States is also aiding and abetting the freezing of assets of certain newspapers in Costa Rica, because they were investigating a sexual assault allegation that happened under the basically just recently left President Rodrigo Chavez. So again, like, the right wing has basically just kind of, like, I mean, again, right wing in Latin America, they basically, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that anymore. They've basically just given up all pretext of being not U.S. pawns. They've given up every pretext of not being in line with drug cartels. They've given up every single pretext, like every single right wing movement in the world has given up every single pretext of even remotely caring about people. Like, this is the problem that I really just don't know what I could say at this point. Because it just seems like, again, I'm repeating basically every week, just like right-wingers show that they don't care about anything, whatever, next story. And we get another piece of development that shows another development in this story. ProPublica has basically announced that they went and they did an investigation into another, not necessarily Latin American nation, but a Latin American, like, government. And it is the government of Puerto Rico. And they were trying to investigate drug trafficking. And that was one of the big things. They were investigating drug trafficking in the area, because one of the big schemes that a lot of people point out when it comes to drug trafficking is, like the connections between drug cartels and the leaders in the country. And it turns out, yeah, they found some ties between Latin American drug cartels and the leader of fucking Puerto Rico. The governor of Puerto Rico, Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, a longtime Republican and supporter of Donald Trump, who was running a scheme with the drag cartels like Los Tiburones, or the Sharks, and literally, it is like they found out that a prison gang was giving inmates drugs in exchange for them voting for Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, and they were investigating it, and it was when the Trump administration came in and said, no, let's not investigate any further. Again, doing the same thing that he does, again, where it's like, their drug traffickers are perfectly fine, but anybody who is allegedly a drug trafficker on the left is, not remotely even remote. Like, one, they're not drug traffickers. There are no drug traffickers on the left. Because people say, but no, there is no but. I don't believe it. I don't believe any of them anymore. This is the problem. I don't believe any of them anymore. Like, again, you can't do the thing where it's like, oh, they're actually the drug traffickers. No, you are. Like, that's the problem. It's like, Trump is the one saying, Ruben Roca Moya, or whatever, they're saying he's the drug trafficker. No, I don't believe a single thing about that. Lies. You're lying. You said that Petro is a drug trafficker. You said that Maduro is a drug trafficker. You said that Sheinbaum's a drug trafficker. Meanwhile, you're surrounded by actual drug traffickers. Fuck you. No, I don't believe you. You also fuck children. You fuck children, and you led a massive government cover-up to try and hide the fact that you fuck children. And you fucked it up so bad that you let information get out that shows that you fuck children. Like, you don't have the moral high ground at all. You don't have the moral high ground. Nobody cares about you anymore. Like, fuck you. You're just, no. Like, bro, unironically, this is just like, there is literally nothing to say. There is nothing to say. Because, again, this whole cockamamie bullshit about, like, they're going after drug traffickers is all based on a lie. He's surrounded by drug traffickers. Much the same way when he says that he's protecting the children. All the child fuckers are surrounding him. He invites Kid Rock everywhere he goes. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast who was just like old clips came out where he was just going crazy. Again, there's not much else for me to say, so let's move on to the biggest news story. Big development, big thing that shows liberals are not fucking ready. Liberals are just not fucking ready, dude. Liberals are not ready, and I don't think you guys are either. And again, this is one of the main reasons why I just gotta say it. I put it up to a poll. You guys said that you didn't want me to officially make a video saying, why you guys should have voted for Kamala Harris. So I guess that means I'm just gonna have to keep bringing it up when it just so happens to be relevant in the news stories. But yeah, I just gotta say it again. I feel 100% vindicated by my vote. Just every day since this administration has began, I am like 100% vindicated in my vote. And again, like most people rush to the poll to be like, maybe Kamala Harris should have done. Nobody is disagreeing with any of that shit. Nobody disagrees. Like literally nobody's disagreeing with that statement. But again, I feel 100% vindicated in my vote because literally every single thing that I said was going to happen should Trump win re-election has effectively happened. Every single one. He is using the FCC to try and control the media. He has launched multiple foreign interventions, leading us to the brink of world war. And he is doing everything in his power to try and rig elections in 2026 and 2028 and beyond. In the most honest sense, I really do feel that my worst case scenario was 100% proven. Because again, like last week was when the VRA was shelved. Like the VRA was struck down in court. And then Louisiana announced that they were going to pull together and do a very quick rebound in regards to redrawing their congressional districts, literally canceling state primaries that were just around the corner, specifically so they can redraw districts to hold new primaries under these new districts. Meanwhile, every single time that this happened with Republicans, where Republicans had districts drawn and then courts tried to strike them down, they still went ahead and tried to do it anyways. Only in the most egregious situations, like in North Carolina, where they had to be forced to redraw districts to hold new elections. That was the only time. And first thing to happen was, again, Virginia tried to fight back by leading an effort to try and do their own quick gerrymander. And the first thing that happened that was very interesting was that the leader of this effort, L. Louise Lucas, she's the Virginia state senator who has been leading the charge on this effort. Mysteriously, her home office and her businesses in Portsmouth were raided by the FBI. Now, apparently, the reason why is because her thing is a dispensary, which apparently is considered illegal in some aspect, and they're also trying to claim corruption charges, but it's bullshit. They're doing it because she tried to do the redistricting. That's why she got raided, not because of anything else. She got raided because she spoke up. She was too uppity. That was why. She was too uppity, and the white man came to try and take her down. In Louisiana, they did try to do something. They did try to do a recall petition against Jeff Landry for trying to do this massive bullshit. But it's not going anywhere. And in fact, it's getting worse. Because now the Virginia Supreme Court has announced that they are going to not even move forward with these new districts. They've just struck them down and just said, nope. And Virginia Democrats have basically all but said, and National Democrats have also all but said, they're just going to accept it. And meanwhile, in Tennessee, they also led an emergency redraw redistricting, and they mysteriously decided to redraw it so that the one blue district, i.e. the one majority-minority district in Tennessee, is now being redrawn. And again, a very interesting coincidence, because they didn't seem to mind that majority-minority district when it was represented by a white man, but now when they're poised to replace that white man with a black man, all of a sudden they have to redraw the districts. And what are libs doing? Attacking Hassan Piker. Don't know what they're attacking him for? Quoting John F. Kennedy. Yeah. Hassan Piker quoted the man who is kind of regarded as one of the most admired Democratic politicians in modern day. And they're like, no, you can't do that. That's what they're focusing on. Meanwhile, they're also discussing the efficacies of, if Kamala Harris came out... No, fuck Kamala Harris. Fuck her. She's a cunt. Fuck her. Yeah, she had a chance. She had to vote. She had the chance to be voted for. She fucked up. She failed. Now you get no more chances. Get one chance, you fail. This is the thing. United States General... this is the rule of thumb. United States General Election. You run, you lose, you fail, go away. Very rarely does that work a second time. We know this because, it literally didn't work a second time. And then for the guy you were running against, this is the problem. It's like the guy you were running against was verifiable proof that was a failure. And then you guys fucked up so bad that you made it an actual possibility that you could do that. Bro, again, libs are not ready. Guys, libs are not fucking ready. That's the fact of the situation. Libs are not ready. They still think world is normal. They still live under that delusion that we live in a normal world. You need to grasp this in your fucking brains. This is literally borderline, almost beat for beat, this is literally almost beat for beat Nazi Germany's rise to power, and you guys are just not doing anything about it. Again, your big contention was whether or not we nominate a guy who could actually do something in this situation. Again, you guys are getting into fucking useless arguments about whether or not, again, on one end, you guys say, hey, we lost certain voting blocks in this very important state that cost us the election. We keep blaming them and laughing at the people who cost us this election. And now this guy comes in and says, hey, I'm running on, let's bring those groups back into the fold. And you guys are like, sorry, nah, you can't. It's like, what do you want? You want to be perpetual loser failures. You're a death cult. The liberals are a death cult. Everybody says the conservatives are a death cult. Liberals are a death cult too. They're both death cults. Fuck you. Go away. You're a death cult. If you guys are such death cults, then, the name is in there for a reason. But leave the rest of us out of this. You guys can do whatever you want. Your body, your choice. But I don't want to go. Again, there's not much for me to say because this is just, again, we're just seeing literally just at this point, if we don't have a fucking passport and we don't have any route outside of the country, then literally we're just sitting here and just watching the show. We're watching it burn. We're just watching it burn. At this point, I am literally just sitting there with popcorn, just watching the fire burn. Because, there ain't no water bucket I'm seeing. I'm not seeing a water bucket. And again, I tried to warn you. Again, we'll actually get into that a little bit in the main topic, but it's just again, I tried to warn you, and no one listened to me. I was proven right. I get to be the smartest guy in the concentration camp. Man, way to bring the fucking mood down. So, let's just move on to the main topic of this video. Again, 8 whole years of doing this specific YouTube channel. 8 whole years of being technically a bit more involved with politics than just online shitposting, I guess, or yeah, it's basically that. If you've been here, a lot of you know a lot of things have changed. Like, I mean, if you've been here for a while, you know that there's a lot of things that have changed for basically, again, the whole 8 years. Again, I mentioned this, I made a mention of this in a previous main series video, actually, where it's like a lot of things can and have changed over the course of 8 years. You know, on one end, you get changes in regards to just how production is. You know, I used to record with a shitty Blues Snowball mic and had videos that were 240p from the built-in editing software on my computer. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was just not a good video editing software. It got the job done, obviously, but, you know, again, it was 240p videos in an era where, yeah, at the very least, 720p should have been the absolute minimum I've been making videos on. Now my videos are a crisp 1080p, which is the new bare minimum of the quality of videos that I make. And I record on a Blue Yeti mic with now I use OpenShot Video Editor to edit. I still use Audacity and Photoshop though, because those are two tools that are very useful. Even as I had shitty tools and shitty equipment, they were still useful. But also, obviously, in an ideological sense, I have changed. See, I, at one point, identified myself as a center-left social democrat back when this channel first started. And now we're at the point where I'm now sitting there going, maybe my why I'm never a communist video is a little out of date. Another major example is, of course, you know, I went from fuck the duopoly, only support third parties, to now going, well, and yeah, for this podcast, I just wanted to do a little bit of a reflection of my time period, reflecting on my life, at least for BreadTube's sake. I guess I could also delve a little bit into the prior stages of my thinking, because I also, again, I have, like, I actually thought about making a, like, funny, like, video, like, I mean, I still could make the meme video, but I just needed to find, like, proper songs for it, because it's also difficult to, like, kind of, like, give, like, exact parameters, even in the realm of, like, me doing it in this, because I guess I'll just say what I was planning to do, and what I will also kind of do. See, I basically decided for this video to write in this, like, script, or, like, this, like, notes, and I wrote some stuff about my actual, like, years on this channel, you know, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, you know, and so on. All those years, and basically kind of go through them to sort of show my political evolution in that sense, which would also kind of coincide with, like, you know, how the channel was during those years, you know, what I talked about, like, what are the kind of themes that I went over the course of the year, because, like, there is sort of, like, for each year of the channel, there is sort of, like, an underlying arc that happens on the channel that sort of coincided with, like, a broader political shift. But I guess I should also mention, like, you know, my time period, you know, a little bit before YouTube, because, you know, I also, you know, again, I used to have, like, a life before YouTube. Well, actually, I didn't, but I also did. I mean, TLDR, I mean, these are things that are just kind of, like, very obvious. I think really, like, I mean, you know, again, I think I mentioned this before, like, you know, back when I was a wee boy, I liked history, so I read history and president's books and all that stuff, you know, whatever. Then, in 2011, I shifted to an extent. It kind of became, like, a bit more of, like, a, I guess, like, a young edgelord, you know, I liked making jokes about, like, you know, weed. I learned, you know, God wasn't real. I became, like, an edgy, at least agnostic. And, you know, that sort of shifted into me basically being a bit slightly left of center. And in 2014, I was a fan of the Young Turks, because I guess it just, I don't know, I guess I just started, like, getting into that kind of stuff. I think in 2012, I also learned that, you know, around 2012, 2013, I also learned about, like, gay rights, you know, when I'm like, I like gay rights, I don't like marijuana rights, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, slight radicalization, I guess. But again, sort of like generic, that kind of stuff. And then in 2015, 2016, I became like, 2015, 2016 is kind of when I got a little bit more, again, I was like a, edgy atheist kid. So, I didn't even technically call myself an atheist at the time, but I watched a lot of atheist content. I was technically an agnostic or whatever, but I guess it's also another thing, because like I get into these things and then I don't want to get into it immediately, but then eventually I get into it. So I basically shifted into being part of the, I guess, anti-SJW community, and somehow that led to me to just learning a little bit about politics through again, the Young Turks, Secular Talk, TJ Kirk, and they all seem to gravitate towards this. I think it was literally just funny thing. I literally just talked about I think I remember exactly what happened in 2015, 2016, where I was just like, man, I don't like Hillary Clinton. Why did I not like Hillary Clinton? I don't know. But I think it was just the meme energy of that era, because a lot of people were making memes about I don't like Hillary Clinton. But then I went on the Wikipedia page and it was just there's this guy right next to Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders. Who's this guy? And I did some research into him. Basically looked him up, and he was on Vine, and he was talking about I want to remove the federal prohibition on marijuana, and I'm like, ooh, I like this guy. And then I guess I shifted into the little radical then, and then I shifted further. But again, that was before the E Pluribus Unum lore. It was even so before that I didn't even talk about politics in my prior YouTube career, because again, I technically do have a prior YouTube career, for all those who want to point and laugh at me for being funny, haha, cringe. But prior to the EPU, that was just how it was. And then once 2018 began, that was when things shifted again. So we're going to go bit by year by year, and kind of go through a reflection on memories past. So 2018 was a very simple year for this channel. It was the beginning year. Literally, this was supposed to be the year that kind of set up what the channel would be. Obviously, if you look at it, just by looking at the YouTube channel, it was, of course, obviously focused a lot on minor parties, third parties. Very clearly, that was the agenda of the channel. Again, it was a pretty basic channel. I didn't even intend for it to, really be, that overtly, partisan, I guess. I actually did have a lot more ambitions for the channel to an extent. But, I did, again, I knew it was going to happen, but, yeah. I kind of wanted to, really make it known, hey, it's really hard to say, because, again, there's, the tidbit, it's yes, I wanted to be as overtly non-biased in the main series edited videos as I could, and, the podcast would obviously be where I express more of my personal beliefs, but, of course, it's going to seep in either or, so, yeah. Especially the way I like to format my beliefs on systems and things, so I wanted to... So yeah, it's just gonna happen. But again, it was the first year, so it was just generic, social democratic, center-left progressive type stuff. Nothing really too, big. 2019 was the first one, that was that would be the arc that I would say for the first year. That was the beginning arc, in the sense of literally just the setup arc. 2019 was when we got our first somewhat arc in another extent. This was the year where the focus of the majority of the content on this channel was the Mexican presidential election series, where I hyper-focused on the electoral politics of another nation, one that wasn't the United States of America. And one other aspect about it was also the fact that it was a nation that wasn't afraid of socialism, allowing me the context to learn a little bit about figures like Lázaro Cárdenas, Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas, Emiliano Zapata, Valentin Campa, the Zapatistas, and it was also around this time that I started doing a little bit of collabs here and there. And I think the Sunflower Socialist collab came out this year, because I also did the Socialist Party video this year, at that year, and he was basically autistically hey, you got information wrong. Let's talk about it. And then we never did. Now, I think he did mention, hey, you kind of, overemphasized Debs in the video. It's that's fair. That is fair. That is technically a criticism I guess I could levy towards that original Socialist Party video. It's not that technically hyper-focusing on Debs in that video was it made sense because Eugene Debs was kind of like a very important figure for the beginning of the Socialist Party's tenure. But most of the information in that video was technically a retread of the Who is Eugene Debs video that I already did. I did expand a little bit onto things that were beyond specifically Debs' thing, and it even went so far as to expand on the things that I didn't say in the Eugene Debs video, going a little bit more in depth about his presidential campaigns in the time periods. But I probably could have expanded a little bit more, getting a bit more into the caucus battles of the party that were going on at the time. This was also where we kind of got the beginning of the arc that would coincide with the next one, where we got a little bit of the beginning of the 2020 presidential election, which would kind of be a bit more of a focus of I guess this technically would be a lot more of a focus in 2019, because 2019 is when the primaries were going on a lot more, but 2020 is kind of where seeped in a little bit more, but that's where we get into a little bit of the problems, because sometimes the arcs overlap. That's kind of one of the big things. Since this is real life and not like a TV show, the arcs literally overlap with each other. And the Bernie 2020 presidential run was a big one. That one reinvigorated a lot of young lefties' hearts, but also reopened a lot of old wounds from the 2016 election. So there was a little bit of a trouble in that sphere, and there was a little bit of a debate and a lot of discussion in that area. But 2020 also became a little bit important because it sort of got its own arc, specifically revolving around the COVID-19 pandemic. That was kind of the biggest focus of the 2020. And I don't think I can overstate this enough. The COVID-19 pandemic was probably the radicalization moment for everybody who was alive in that time period. Everyone who survived the COVID pandemic has scars that still haven't fully healed. Even if COVID wasn't particularly that bad for you, the entire political situation surrounding it was just so much that it changed everything. I've contemplated making a video about it for my EPU files, but I'm not sure if I'm even qualified to really go into it. That might require a massive video essay, and I'm a little bit nervous to make another giant massive video essay. Because again, COVID-19 was just such a drastic event. It was again, for lack of a better term, we hear about these big massive diseases that happened in the past, but it never has happened in the modern world. Or it probably has, but it's never happened in the quote unquote developed modern world. And even then, it probably has, but, again, I'll give some examples. SARS was a bad infection, but it wasn't as bad as COVID. Ebola was basically nothing. It was overhyped, and it basically didn't do anything. But again, COVID was massive. There are people whose entire political trajectory has shifted purely because of COVID. There's still to this day, there is a subsection. A lot of us have technically moved on from COVID. Even though COVID's still technically around, but it's obviously not as big of a deal as, it was during the height of the pandemic. There is still a subsection of people who just have never moved on from COVID that still make videos about COVID. The entire right wing, they're essentially brain rotted to the point where they just bring up COVID every 5 minutes. That's just all they talk about. Because they can't get over the fact that they failed their own family members in COVID, and then many of them died. They can't get over that fact. It was a massive movement. Because this is another thing, the big psychology about it. They can't admit they're wrong, because if they admit that they were in the wrong, then they have to admit that they're the reason why many of their friends are dead. There's this big one, because right now we're going into this because there was the hantavirus, I forget what it's called, but it was a virus that was on a cruise, and then it's I looked it up, and since I'm a rational human being, I looked it up to get information about it, and I saw a CDC article from multiple years ago, and I'm okay, so this is clearly, and then I looked into information, it's yeah, this is a disease that has been around for a while, it can be bad, but with a lot of precautions, there's obviously a lot of mitigation, so it's I mean, a lot of people are like, kind of like doing the meme where it's like, oh, it's happening again. It's like, guys, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm not a doctor. Look at the doctors. Look at actual doctors. But basically, it's a disease that it's a very easy disease to get prevented from spreading, technically. But again, I'm not gonna give medical information. I'm not gonna give that many medical information. But again, one of the things that a lot of conservatives and reactionaries like to do, like they immediately went to, we're not masking up again. It's like I saw a tweet of like Sarah Palin. She's like, if they tell you, just don't comply this time. And I literally, the first thing I responded with was simply, how's your buddy Herman Cain doing? Because like, yeah, again, if she can either admit that she had a small part to play in her friend Herman Cain dying, or she can brush it off and blame some sort of big conspiracy nonsense. I think that's also why a lot of reactionaries have just kind of given up on like the notion of like being like normal conservatives anymore. Because they just genuinely, like, they understand now. Their beliefs will not just get their other people killed. They will get their own kind killed. And they don't care anymore. They don't care anymore. I mean, I really want to know, what does Julia Letlow think of this fucking, like, hantavirus and what she's going to do about it? Because, like, literally, her husband, like, again, like, there's, like, so, like, I mean, again, I watched an FT65 video where he talks about COVID, and it's like, there is a man who is on a ventilator, dying of COVID, and he is being explicitly, like, I would not change this situation at all. It's like, at all? You wouldn't change anything about you getting COVID and dying? You wouldn't change anything about the situation? Like, Jimmy Dore is now one of them. He went from being like a progressive podcaster to now basically his entire shtick is just COVID posting in 2026. But even on smaller levels, like, I mean, for example, I mean, like me ideologically shifting happened a lot during COVID. For one, a small one, I didn't used to believe in vaccine mandates before COVID. I didn't believe in them. I actually genuinely did not believe in vaccine mandates because I had like a little bit of a libertarian streak on that regard, your body, your choice. And also because I also had the understanding and the assumption that people didn't need to be coerced into taking something that is very obviously effective for them. The anti-mask movement and the anti-vaccine movement proved me wrong to the point where now it's just like, I genuinely do not care about the whole, like, but I don't want, no. And seeing how that has evolved into like, it's just now we are actually in the point where it's like, now we're going to remove the fluoride in the water that actually makes people's teeth healthy and clean. Actually, now that I think about it, did they actually get to remove the fluoride of the water? Because I'm starting to have more teeth problems now, so maybe they actually did get to remove the fluoride. But also, I think this is the year where I broadly decided, you know what? I don't really fuck with social democracy anymore. I like socialism now. Because, not gonna lie, like, you can't really, I really don't understand how you could look at the situation about COVID and then not even remotely think, maybe we should have some big structural change to fix how things went. I just genuinely don't know how you could do that. Like, just small little tweaks to fix capitalism and whatever really just didn't seem to work. And in this year, I was also heftily involved in a lot of online dramas that also led to some shifting ideologies. One was in my regardment with the Tulsi Gabbard stands. This kind of, again, coincided with a little bit of 2019, 2018. But, yeah, when I saw a group of, like, Tulsi Gabbard fans, and just basically go really weird in really weird directions, it just kind of, like, really, really, really just, wow, I don't know. But the one that is very hyper-focused on this channel and me specifically was me getting involved with the 2020 Green Party presidential election drama. And again, I just gotta say it, this drama will be reserved. I will go more in depth about this in a future video on the subject. It will probably be a longer video essay, but I really think that this subject genuinely deserves an analysis of that regard. Because that situation was just so fucking weird that it's just like that was really I guess I'll just say it, like, that election drama is the main reason why I'm not really interested in third parties anymore. Because, again, if you don't know anything about the drama, just a little bit of a TLDR. Two wrestling fans, William Pounds and Chad Wilson, were somehow able to shift an entire political party's dialogue from being the nomination of a guy. Like, they were able to convince an entire political party to actually take seriously many conspiracy theories regarding Howie Hawkins, a Green Party co-founder, and tried to derail the election to make it so that fucking Jesse Ventura was nominated for president. They were actually able to do that, and they were actually able to make schisms in the Green Party infrastructure. So again, how was I supposed to take that seriously? It was also, I think, this year, or maybe again a little bit of 2019. I mean, again, there's a little bit of a bridge in those 2 years where I got involved with a particular YouTube collab partner, a YouTuber by the name of Niall Elcom, who you can't look into now because he has now scrubbed all of his online presence off of the internet because of some harassment against him. But again, if you were around in that time period, you may have seen that I frequently popped up on his channel and on his videos to do stuff with them because it was just a thing to do. He wanted to invite me on and we talked about certain things and I was like, yeah, I was interested. But basically, he was cool. And it even got to the point where, there was actually a point where me and Niall and a couple of other people were actually going to start an online leftist collective, and a left-wing TYT, if you will. And things were going great. But this is also when I started feeling a little bit of burnout. I mean, not gonna lie, seeing the thing that you kind of built your entire thing, your whole thing on, losing a second time with the Democratic Party rigging the nomination against Bernie again, kind of got a bit demoralizing. And also seeing that your alternative strategy of building up the Green Party also was a complete utter waste of time because the fact that it can get derailed by fucking 2 podcasters is a bit of a problem. And I was also in college around this time period and, I had to pull back on production to meet demands, meeting up with demands of trying to stay in university. Well, not university technically, but college, and also, keeping up with the YouTube channel, which kind of was a fruitless effort because I would end up dropping out after COVID. So I was kind of just losing a lot of the creative juices on this channel. And that's when I decided to start a new series, which would become the thing for 2021. Politics in Media, where I would focus on doing political analysis of certain forms of media. Where it was basically just me giving some. It was just. And that was another thing that was good about politics in media. Every episode was unique. Sometimes it was me going over a left-wing fan theory of a particular TV show. Sometimes it was me going over a actual political TV show, it has overt politics in it. And again, it was just it kind of went in various different directions, and I kind of liked it. It was a very good way to break the pace and kind of bring new life into the channel. This is also when I got involved with an online drama group that some referred to as the G Hive. TLDR, for those who don't know, I have a podcast specifically on the subject. It was kind of an interesting kind of thing, but it was basically just a group of lefty shit posters on Twitter who would engage in drama for fun. I was invited into the group by Niall, I think. The reason why it's called a G Hive is because one of the people in the group was called Jeff, and judging by the fact that it's G, it's pronounced, it's the one that's spelled G off. But he was basically involved with the group, and a lot of people kind of interpreted him as being the ringleader of the group because, I just gotta say it, there's it was basically based on anti-Semitism because Jeff was Jewish, and they're basically originally the belief system was that Jeff was running a bot account group, and that all the people were bots. I think one of the first ways that I even knew that I was in this so-called G Hive was because I was followed by Jeff, and then someone replied to me saying, "Jeff, is that you?" And I'm like, "Who is Jeff? What are you fucking talking about?" And to an extent, I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is a good thing. More friends for me." And I would kind of sometimes, self-promo my stuff in their fucking group chat, just be like, "Hey bros, check this out." And then, also sometimes they would post they'd be like, look at this fucking loser account. And then, a couple of us would probably reply to it, be like, yo, that's kind of fucking stupid. That stupid thing you said. One of these 2021 endeavors was invigorating for me and made me happy. The other one was a little bit of demoralizing and not make me happy at all. Can you take a wild guess which one was it? Probably the one that led to me to get into a lot of drama with a bunch of different online shitposting chat groups. There's literally another one. I have another video where it's like all the EPU dramas, because again, I was like a fucking drama whore for a long period of time. But it was basically where, there was this other fucking, online shitpost group. I think they were a bunch of liberals. They were called the Gopher Hive. I don't fucking know at this point. It's like, what the fuck was even happening with me at this point in my life? And then there's this other fucking loser named Disco Brian who still posts stuff now, but now he's basically just like a fucking lib now. And he again, he's such a... I could include a fucking a link of a bunch of all of the stuff that he's done, because he's fucking creepy and insane. He was stalking me for a little bit, and it's what are you fucking doing? Leave me alone. I may or may not include something that shows how crazy this guy really is. I might include a video of it here.
Crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew. Crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew. The fact, crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew. Crystal ball, she came prepared, she... Crystal ball, she came prepared, she... Crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew. 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 The crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew. Crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew. The crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew. 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 The fact, crystal ball, she came prepared, she knew.
There was also the fucking stupid force the vote drama that happened this year, and it's just what? I don't know. And also, this is when the collabs came to a crashing halt, as Sunflower Socialist took a hiatus that, technically, he's still in, and Niall Elcom disappeared for good. Sunflower Socialist, there's still a possibility that I could do something in the future, but, I'm just going over the timeline. And in the left sphere specifically, they're the only two people from LeftTube that are basically real ones that I've interacted with, and the rest are fucking snakes. Mr. Beat, I've interacted with him, and he's pretty cool, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's part of LeftTube, but, he's pretty cool. The rest of the people I've interacted with on LeftTube have basically been snakes that'll stab you in the fucking back without a second glance, use you for clout, and then drop you without a second glance. Literally, a lot of the people in this fucking, crowd I don't fuck with anymore at all. I could name more names, and, maybe I will, but there are also so many people that is just insane. It's just genuinely insane that I even remotely took any of these people fucking seriously, and even remotely wanted to interact with them in, a positive way. One of them was a small channel that I shouted out, and he's like, yo, bro, you're so cool. I like your channel. I like your videos. You're so awesome. And then me and him disagreed on one thing, and then he immediately blocked me and, whatever. He also tried to debate bro me, that kind of stuff. It's bro, calm down. And then there was also this other person who, when Disco Brian was slandering me on their show, I politely asked them, hey, can I go on your show to correct the record? Because he fucking lied about me multiple times on your show, and you offered no rebuttals to any of the things that he said, and they did not let me on the show at all to correct the record, even though they let other people who Brian lied about on their show to correct the record, but they didn't let me on the show, even though I kept asking them multiple times, when am I going to go on your show? They would not give me a time for them to go on the show. Now, some of this might also be 2022, because 2022 did not really have a unique identity with 2020, with 2021. It was basically 2021, but repeated, because 2022, 2021 was kind of just when I was in it was actually kind of a good era for the channel, because that was when the quality bumped up a little bit. I was kind of learning a little bit about the new editing software that I had, and, the videos kind of got a bit better quality-wise, and I was able to do them at least very consistently. I don't think I had any major, flubs in regards to like the schedule in those time periods. But also, I was kind of getting to a point where it's like, I was getting a little burnt out again. Like, very quickly. You know, like, stuff regarding all of those dramas that I mentioned before. And then also, you know, just also because around this time, it was also the time where, like, you were seeing people like Jackson Hinkle and the Vanguard rise. Even though it's like, what the fuck? I've been on this fucking YouTube sphere for a longer period of time than them, and I would argue that I provide better quality content than, you know, fucking, I mean, the Vanguard especially, I just gotta be real, Vanguard especially, I really am just like, why? These guys are fucking, like, they literally just watch other people's content, commentate over it, and then just offer nothing of substance. Meanwhile, I will provide literal fucking essays and documentaries, basically, about multiple political parties that give multiple important lessons for people who want to learn and build the left. Meanwhile, I get nothing. They get everything. It also coincided with the fact that I basically just decided, like, to really hone in the fact that, I just decided, like, you know what? Just gonna do a big test, you know. All these fucking, like, stupid group chats that I'm in that just bring me into nothing but fucking online drama, I'm just not going to be part of them anymore. I left all of them. Just left them. Because again, there was nothing for me there. Niall wasn't in the chats anymore, so he was basically the only guy that kept me in those chats. I didn't care about any of the other fucking losers that were in there, so I just left them all. And very slowly, all of the ones who were there, who slowly started there, were kind of started disappearing from my feeds. Suddenly, my follower counts were going down. Huh? That's interesting. Huh? When I'm not involved in your stupid little, like, fucking RT, like, retweeting each other and, like, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, these guys weren't even talking about, like, I mean, again, like, I was, like, posting my actual content I was putting effort into. None of them could be bothered to watch them. None of them could be bothered to subscribe. None of them could be bothered to like, share, retweet, or anything of the sort. I think with the exception of Jeff. I think Jeff was the only one that actually did sometimes engage with them, which, fair on him, good on him. And meanwhile, I would sometimes go, hey, I got a Patreon, can some of you guys, you know, retweet that? No. But they all could have their Cash Apps in their fucking bios. Interesting. You guys want to get paid for fucking tweeting? Meanwhile, I can't get paid for fucking, like, making, like, actual content? And some of it was, like, for a fucking, like, actual health reason. Because, like, sometimes I would get so mad during online dramas that I actually felt like, I mean, I guess it was actually, like, feeling my blood pressure rise. Because it's just, like, I can't think of any other fucking explanation. Because, like, I just don't, I can't describe it. But it's just, like, I'm pretty sure if any of you could, like, fucking, like, were, like, could, like, feel, like, describe, like, the feeling of, like, your blood pressure rising, then yeah, that's probably would be it. I guarantee that'd probably be, if you described what that feeling felt like in you, then yeah, I would probably be what it is. There was actually one fucking argument. I don't remember if it happened this year, but it was the dumbest actual argument that I ever got in. And this was, like, the point where it's, like, literally just, like, what am I actually doing? It was actually probably the closest moment that I actually even thought, like, oh shit, I should just actually unplug. I should just unplug. And I don't mean from a computer, but it's like, I would tweet specific actual arguments relating to the discussion at hand, and all they would post in response were, like, Rafiki, like, GIFs, like, of, like, Rafiki fighting the hyenas from Lion King with a question that I literally just answered. I didn't even know, no, I didn't answer, but it was a question that was completely irrelevant to the point. And I literally kept explaining that to them, and they kept doing it over and over again. But it's like, it wasn't even coming, like, from a situation where, like, it felt like they were, like, actually fucking with me. It actually felt like they were actually, like, engaging, like, it actually felt like they were just that fucking stupid. That was their actual perspective on the issue. And I literally just, when that was happening, after it happened like one or two times, or one, like, at most three, it's literally just like, bro, what am I actually doing? I am sitting here at 3 o'clock in the morning debating with this fucking absolute brain dead reject that I just cannot fathom what I'm doing. And that was when it was just like, I was just thinking like, at that point, I'm just like, is it even worth doing this fucking YouTube thing? Like, really, at that point, like, I'm getting into so many fucking online arguments for no fucking reason that are having no bearing in the real world. Just for what? To raise my blood pressure to like fucking like for what reason? For like what? 10 to maybe 100 views if I'm lucky on my videos? Wow, what a concept. But there was one thing that kind of made me think, okay, maybe I thought about it. Because I was thinking, 2023 was the 5-year anniversary of the E Pluribus Unum channel. And at one point during the year, I kind of started thinking about the possibility, because I was inspired by watching a couple of like other like YouTubers, like, you know, I think Super Mario Glitchy 4, Alex Bale's like SpongeBob theories, and I was inspired to possibly do something like that, where I would do something that would go a little bit beyond just typical, like, what the channel videos were actually typically supposed to be. Because it also kind of reminded me of, like, the older nostalgia critic or Linkara type story arcs for the internet reviewers, which I was a huge fan of when I was younger. And I was like, hold on, 5-year anniversary is next year. And that is why in 2023, the theme of that year was the year-long story arc, The Silhouettes of the Past. And one of the big reasons why it was big on that channel that year was purely, not necessarily pure, it was basically one big thing. And it was the fact that it was poised at one point to be the full-on finale. Yeah, I did think that there was a very big, decent chance that would have been the finale of the E Pluribus Unum channel. Because I was at like the wit's edge in regards to burnout and emotional issues, all the stuff that I've mentioned prior. But I was also kind of 50-50 on that. You know, I kind of kept it in the air, you know, in my mind about whether or not that would be it. But if you pay close attention, you can piece together, like, you could probably pick up that vibe if you actually rewatch that thing. I mean, I pulled out the fanfiction connoisseur Nintendork, 2 people from, like, fucking, like, my old YouTube career out of the vault. Because, again, so, why not give them the proper send-off that they deserve? I'm not gonna keep doing this shit no more. It's also why I decided to do the Thoughts on E Pluribus Unum podcast, you know, close out the biggest, like, sub-series of the Fireside Chats, the Thoughts On series. It was the only way to end that sub-series. It would be embarrassing if I brought it back afterwards. Yeah. And it's also why, in that video, I also did a face reveal. Although, granted, I probably wouldn't have done a face reveal if it was the finale. Like, I probably would have actually, like, left it at that. Like, it was kind of like a little bit of a here and there. Again, it was either just going to be a good finale for the year, or it would be the end-all be-all of the channel. And ultimately, the only thing that really kept me going was the fact that I had a pretty ambitious idea for a video in 2024. And the fact that 2024 was also going to be a presidential election year. So that's kind of what made me kind of like, can't really, yeah, that was kind of what made me go like, yeah, I think I'll stick around at least until 2024. We'll see what happens after 2024. I also took a lesson to not get involved with drama unless it actually had something somewhat substantive and had meaning behind it. Such as when I went into the Marianne Williamson drama. Because my major involvement with that one was purely because I really was just like, lefties, you gotta focus on other races. 2024, the presidential race is not gonna be relevant. It's the 2024 Democratic primary is just not gonna be important. It's not important. It's not important at all. Like, if Marianne Williamson is the person we're bringing out then it's not important. We're not winning anything, so it's more important to just focus on other races, other issues, and other things. And also, again, I was focusing a lot of my effort in 2024 on a massive video essay about the trends on the internet in regards to politics, which is a pretty big one. And I went so far as to go like, that one, if that one doesn't succeed, then that's when I pull the plug. And since that was the main focus of that one, I was kind of focusing a lot more on 2024 on, while that was like the main theme in regards to like, I guess like the main series videos, the podcasts also kind of took a bit of more of a focus. They were already taking a bit more of a focus over the course of the channel due to like, scaling back, from weekly to bi-weekly. And, but that's when I started focusing a lot more on the podcast is when you started seeing a little bit of an extra development in regards to my politics. And it was the development in regards to the Palestine issue. I was already pro-Palestine since at least 2019, and I remember exactly when. It was in 2019 when Israeli police officers raided the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the middle of a Ramadan event. I literally knew right then and there that moment. It was like June 2nd of 2019. I don't remember if I read that story in June of 2019, but I read it during 2019 when it happened, around the time it happened, and I was like, yeah, good guys don't do that. Good guys do not do that. I might go a bit in depth about this in a future episode because I kind of want to. I also thought about doing another episode where it's just like, I literally just like, you all get to pick one issue and then I get to explain to you how I got to my position on that issue or whatever. And when I say you all get to pick one issue, I mean like every single person gets to pick one issue that they know that I'm in favor of or whatever, and they, decide, like they get to find out how did I get in favor of that specific issue. But again, it's not really more of like the main focus of the thing. It was, this was a focus of a lot more of the podcasts or like that kind of stuff. And but like the main focus to an extent for my channel at this point was focusing on that 4-hour video essay, which flopped. And you might think, well, then you should leave your channel, right? Well, I think that actually was, I think I kind of changed my mind on that regard. I think actually kind of because of the Palestine issue and the 2024 election. Because, I gotta be real. If 2024 had Kamala Harris win, then there would have been a slight chance that I might have quit the channel. Maybe a slight chance. But I really kind of felt like way more invigorated to continue the channel after Trump won his second term. Because I knew that I had to, it's like, I'm in this position where I have a YouTube channel where I can express my opinions and my criticisms of the incumbent administration and express my criticisms and whatever about all these other issues, even beyond just, the Trump administration. And I should not give that up. And I didn't want to give the message to all of you to give up. That was literally like the one big thing. Don't give up. That's one of the big things. Never give up. Don't give up. As the song of the last video that was posted on this channel said, we are the ones who rise above. And it was also through research of the episode. It was through the research for that big video essay that led me to at least one more thing that would shift the channel's focus a little bit again. And it was in 2025 when I decided to turn my pet issue into copyright reform. While, of course, never remaining silent on any of the other issues that I talked about before, like Palestine, that's still a main thing. That's kind of, again, a big thing. It's like one of the main reasons why I didn't do the whole like meme video, because like I can't say 2024 my issue was Palestine and then 2025 my issue was copyright reform, because those are, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can talk about multiple issues. But it was purely through my research through that like video essay that led me to my research about like SOPA that really led me to kind of like really look in deeper in regards to like copyright, in regards to like intellectual property and all that other stuff. And yeah, kind of radicalized me a lot more on that issue as well. And yeah, that's kind of, again, showing I was always pro copyright reform. I mean, I made a podcast where I talked about copyright reform a while ago. But again, this is what radicalized me even more. I was at the point where it's like, now I'm going to like deeper down the deep end. And 2026, I don't know. I guess it's just continuation 2025. Now, even though there's been a lot of changes on this channel, I ultimately don't think much has changed to an extent. I mean, obviously, a lot of things have developed, and as I've learned more information, as I've expanded my worldview, things have adapted and changed, but I think ultimately, I don't think much has changed. Like, I've stayed really consistent with my ideals, I guess, just with an adaptation to fit the new changing times. Like, for example, I'll be upfront and say, I actually don't really think it's that cringe that I used to call myself a social democrat. Because honestly, I do kind of believe that early on in this channel's career, social democracy probably would have been the thing that saved us. But now, the conditions have changed, so now it can't. That's just how it is. That's how I think the world has. That's how I think the world has changed and developed. So much has changed that nor do I necessarily feel shame or blame or whatever for espousing support or whatever, or being parts of crowds that I necessarily don't fuck with anymore. You know, it's just because the fact of the matter is, I had to go through all that in order to get to the position where I am today. Like, I mean, yeah, it was cringe that I was a fan of Tulsi Gabbard. It was cringe that I was a fan of Jimmy Dore. It was cringe that I was a fan of Joe Stein. It was cringe that I was a fan of Cenk Uygur. It was cringe that I was a fan of Richard Dawkins. It was cringe that I was a fan of Armored Skeptic. It was cringe that I was a fan of Vosh. It was cringe that I was a fan of John Fetterman. It was cringe. But I had to go through all of those creators and people to reach the position where I am today. I can acknowledge the fact that I'm not in those crowds anymore, and I can even poke fun at that fact. But again, I wouldn't be where I am today had I not gone through all of those, I guess, trials and tribulations, for lack of a better term. But again, I'm still gladly willing to make fun of, like, not just that, but also, like, just, like, yeah, it's very easy for you guys to go and be like, wait, bro, you actually followed the guy who got offended by a cartoon parody so much that now he thinks an AI chatbot is more human than trans people? Like, yeah, that's kind of funny. That's fucking funny. But, like, it shows, like, a little bit of a two-way street, where it's, like, on one end, you can see, like, at least the principles of my ideas that have remained, just, again, a little bit of a change in how they manifest. Like, for example, if you even go back to when I said that I was a social democrat, technically I was still advocating for socialism, because the United States is a capitalist system, so I was arguing that the United States should become more socialist. I just didn't want to necessarily use the term socialist. If you watch the videos, you could see that I was a bit more of a, I was like, I believe we should pull out of these wars, That still is positions that I hold to this day. Just the label is slightly different. I use the term non-interventionist. Now I'm a bit more open to the terms like radical pacifist or anti-imperialist. You saw me express support for copyright reform, and now it has evolved to the point where I am basically a borderline copyright abolitionist. It shows that I am not blinded to a specific, I'm not blinded by these things to the point of idiocy and unable to budge on any of these things. Clearly, I am able to shift in some capacity. And even to the point where it's like I shift certain elements of strategy, I mean, like me biting the bullet and voting and telling people we should vote for Kamala was meant to be a bit of a warning of the situation. The situation was, yeah, okay, maybe in this nice world, we could be fine and just casually vote for a third-party candidate. But now it's like, okay, we're now in a drastic situation where things are different, and now we have to be forced to essentially vote for Kamala Harris. Which, again, coincides with the fact that I did a lot more research and a lot more information came in through all that. I also gotta be real in another regard. Another video that I did that really changed my perspective on a lot of this stuff was researching for the Communist Party video. Because that video really did, I think that video, I honestly do believe that video basically vindicates DSA strategy in the biggest sense. Like, it makes it the strategy for the left in the United States. Learning that the fucking United States Communist Party had basically tried the DSA strategy in like 1940s and like 30s, and it was working, and it was working so well that the intelligence community had to spend the next 10 years after they did that strategy tearing all the infrastructure that the Communist Party had built. Again, this was the strategy of the Communist Party. I mean, yeah. Honestly, at this point, it really just is like, even when I didn't identify as, I mean, even when I was like, you know, not necessarily like communist, I guess. Again, am I a communist? I don't fucking know. The RDR Labs quiz says I'm 70% communist, and I just took the dozen values quiz again. Let's take a look at the fucking, like, top ideologies again. Top 10 ideologies right here: minarcho-socialism, left communism, liberal socialism, left libertarianism, Marxism, council communism, neo-Marxism, libertarian socialism, 21st century socialism, and number 1, libertarian Marxism. Technically, 21st century socialism is tied for number 1, and even when you do absolute, it's still tied for number 1, and libertarian socialism is basically a very close third. So yeah, I mean, you actually in the before absolute, technically libertarian socialism, 21st century socialism, and libertarian Marxism are all literally tied for first. I mean, again, when we see the fact that that Earl Browder was able to fucking turn the Communist Party into an actual viable political threat in the fucking United States of America through this strategy, and then we see every single other social experiment try the whole, you know, divide strategy, you know, sectarianism strategy, and it just fails at every single turn. And with that shift, I also feel a little sense of liberation. You know, this could also come with aging to an extent, but a lot of it really, I don't feel the need to prove myself anymore. I mean, I guess I think it might have just come from, like, a lot of things, a lot of factors. Like, especially coming from, like, the leaving all the fucking group chats things. Like, I'm in my, and, like, you know, figure, like, I'm gonna quit, but then I don't quit, and then, you know, fucking, like, doing that twice. It's just, like, I really don't feel the need to prove, like, I mean, even as I've gotten obviously, objectively more radical, I really don't feel the need to posture that like some kind of fucking LARPer. Like, I mean, literally, when I was in the copyright reform phase of my lifetime, I was all in on, like, the Pirate Party is so cool. And now that I'm significantly more radical than even them, I would argue, I don't really give them the time of day at the moment. I could change that, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, literally, again, I've said before, I'm basically a borderline communist to an extent, and it's just like, I don't feel the need to prove that I'm the next Bill Bailey by only supporting outside of the duopoly and saying, like, oh yeah, I'm going to support this specific small communist party with only like 3 people in the movement. I don't feel the need to do that. Earl Browder literally went on stage to demand that a racist capitalist war hawk run for president in 1944 because he saw that there could be more done in that administration than the GOP administration that would happen if he lost. But meanwhile, you guys are going to cry that I don't support Marianne Williamson because she's the progressive candidate in the race. Like, that's one of the big things that's fucking funny when all these people try to do that. Because it's just like, I literally sit there and they're just like, I will like say something, it's just like, and they'll be like, oh wow, you're not a real progressive. It's like, bro, progressivism is fucking like Nazism compared to me. You're actually getting mad at me for not being leftier than thou, and you're still calling yourself a progressive as your label? Really? I mean, I get choosing to self-identify yourself with a label that fits better. Like, I mean, I still identify as a socialist because, you know, that's just a better label. But again, it's just like, you really are going to get mad at me, the guy with socialist in his Twitter bio, 21st century socialist in his bio, by the way, specifically, and you're going to get mad at me, and you're going to be like, oh, why are you not a real progressive? It's like, fuck off, dude. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the fucking real progressives that I briefly tried to join, and then they fucking like me because they're fucking losers. Oh yeah, I forgot about them. Like, honestly, I don't fucking care. I don't care. I honestly don't care anymore. I'm at a stage in my life where I just fucking don't care. And it's also, again, it's liberating to just kind of like not care. Like, certain things, it's kind of nice to just not care. Like, it's not even doomerism to an extent. It's just like literally liberating. Just to be like, I'm just not going to adhere to your fucking stupid like purity test anymore. You're gonna cry and piss and shit yourself because I said, hey, we should support Graham Plattner for United States Senator? Do you guys get mad about that? Like, oh, but he has a tattoo. Don't care. You're not a real leftist if you support a Blackwater guy. Nope, don't care. No. La. I'm not listening to you. I'm not fucking listening to you. I don't care. Like, I know where I stand, so I don't need any of you guys to fucking lecture me about that. I've regaled this story before, but I've been both called a shitlib and a tanky by various people online before. I've been called a shitlib by communists on Twitter, and I've been called a tanky by liberals on Twitter. Now, again, either both of these statements are 100% factual, and I'm just like this massively enigma political figure that just massively can be like both of these things, or maybe both of these people are just fucking stupid and literally do not understand me at all. Like, again, on my Twitter, whenever I get into these dramas on Twitter, I have a Twitter that links to my public YouTube channel where they could look at any of my views on basically any issue if they look hard enough. But they don't want to do that. That would require too much work. Meanwhile, I'll gladly do that. I'll gladly actually try to engage with the person, who they are, try to look at their feed and actually explain, and try to figure out who they are as a person before I make assumptions about their ideology and their beliefs. I've even been called a fascist for supporting Medicare for all. Again, that is a real interaction that I have had where a person called me a fascist for supporting Medicare for all. That's literally what they cited specifically. Like, at that point, I'll just let you think whatever the fuck you want. Want to call me communist? So what? I don't fucking care. Want to call me a socialist? Whatever. Shitlib, tanky? Whatever. I don't fucking care. I'll say what I say, and I don't care what you guys think. Because again, a lot of you, I mean, not to the fans who are subscribed. If you're a fan and you actually engage and watch the stuff I do, then you probably are obviously not the people I'm talking about. But I'm just referring to people broadly who want to, put labels on me and get into drama with me. Because again, they just don't want to engage with like the actual beliefs that I have. Like, I'm just gonna do what it's liberating. I will say what I want to say. I will do what I want to do. And people want to come. People don't want to come. They don't want to come. But again, like I'm just saying, when we live in the world where Bad and Banana can call FD Signifier a Kamala Harris liberal and nothing more, he literally called him a Kamala Harris liberal and nothing more. That just shows you point blank. It's just like, yeah, people just say shit to say shit now. I mean, again, I don't care about I don't really care. I'm in my I don't give a fuck phase anymore. I don't care anymore. I don't give a fuck. I care about producing high quality, informative content for everyone to watch. That's what I care about. What that high quality, informative content is on? Not really. I don't care. I think some of you who have given requests as of lately have noticed that, it's like, I give requests and he says that he doesn't want to do requests. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to do requests. I'm sorry. I have 3 patrons and they give me a collective $5 a month. I'm sorry, guys. Unless that number is getting higher, I'm not doing any more requests. Sorry. In fact, if you want me to actually do a subject on this channel, it would actually be better for you guys if you didn't request it. Because if you do request it, I might feel inclined to not do it unless I get a higher amount on the Patreon. Am I salty? A little bit. Sad but true. But yeah, I'm more focused on doing things I want to do. Like, you can kind of tell. Like, again, I made a podcast where I gave credence to the Christ myth theory, and an ensuing poll show that none of you guys even fuck with that theory at all. So, I guess not none of you, but a lot of you don't. But yeah, clearly I do my own thing regardless of what you do, like what you think. So again, a similar thing happened this year. This year I've literally just posted the videos that I want to make. I don't care if they do well or if they do poorly. I really don't care. I wanted to make a video about the butterfly. I wanted to make a video about Wikipedia. I wanted to make a video about Smiling Friends. I wanted to make a video about Walter B. Jones. I wanted to, my Mumia Abu-Jamal video, it fucking flopped. It fucking flopped hard. And so did my, like, Hitler copyright story video. Those videos flopped. And I put a lot of effort into both of those videos. I don't care. They flopped. So what? I don't care. I made those videos because I wanted to make those videos. I wanted to tell the story of Mumia Abu-Jamal because I think Mumia Abu-Jamal's story needs to be heard. If people don't want to listen to it, that's your prerogative. I wanted to tell the story about how Hitler used copyright as a form of censorship because I felt that was a very important issue. If you guys don't want to listen to that, that's your thing. You guys don't have to. That's perfectly fine. I wanted to make a podcast on the Christ myth theory because I actually think it's a very interesting theory. And it's a very interesting theological and philosophical perspective that you can go into. People don't want to listen to it? Fine. You guys don't have to. But I'm going to do what I want. For better and for worse. And just to get a little bit of like ideas about like, you know, just a little bit of a thing to wrap it up. But I'm going to get into some things about like what's next for this channel. Because there's going to be more. And the big thing that I want to say is this. Basically, I've made it abundantly clear at this point, I'm going to keep posting on this channel until I can't anymore. However that happens, that's how it's however it will be discovered. You know, will I die? I don't know. If I do die, you guys aren't going to get a video about it anytime soon because I've already fucked up twice and like accidentally let those videos go up when they weren't supposed to go up. I mean, good thing a lot of you guys didn't catch on to that second one because I got that revealed to me real quick. Not like the last one. The last one I accidentally left it for like 10 minutes, and then this one I guess like got taken out almost immediately because I was just like, yeah, that's funny. But I will continue. I basically decided that I will basically continue posting on this channel until I can't anymore. That's basically the prerogative that I have concluded. I mean, if I was gonna quit. I guess technically I still could quit technically because I mean again but it would be situations beyond my control. Like I'm not just going to casually decide to quit. If I were to close the book in an official story capacity, the 10-year anniversary would be a good one to do it to. But I don't know if I can top the Silhouettes of the Past story arc, so I don't really think that would really be a good route. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's basically just how it would be for that for the channel. For other things, one thing I'd actually like to do is the one thing I've actually been trying to do for a while is to do more collabs. I really miss having a circle and like associates on the sphere. I don't know where I'd go for this kind of like collab work, what I would do per se. I mean, I'm basically open to whatever technically. Like, I mean, one of you guys said in the comment section at one point, it's like, I would love to have a conversation with you. And it's just like, bro, like just start a podcast and you can have it. I don't care. I guess I should rephrase. I wouldn't say I don't care, but I'm just like, I'm open to the prospect. I have social anxiety that I'm still not getting over, and clearly some sort of trauma over the many knives in my back over all those other fucking like lefty content creators. But I mean, I'm always willing to help an up and coming channel if you want. But I also would kind of like to do some like other things to an extent. I mean, that would probably add like a lot more workload, but like I do kind of like yearn for the possibility of being like just. I mean, on this channel, I am the talent and the production crew. Like, I'm a one-man production crew on this channel. Basically, all the stuff that I make, all the stuff that I do is purely me. This channel is all mine. But at one point, I do wish I do kind of have a bit of a yearning to an extent to be both exclusively the talent and exclusively the behind-the-scenes guy. Like, I mean, just like, I guess a little bit more of like the former than the latter, just because it's like the rest of the stuff is like so much hard work. Like, I mean, I'm surprised that me and Niall never had a podcast, but like, I would just love to just be like, I just pop in and I don't have to do much work and then just do whatever and then go. That would be nice. That would be nice sometimes. Instead of doing all the time like writing and producing and recording and But also, there is another project that I do kind of want to do, but I don't think I will. I don't know if I will, because I would have to get a little bigger to even remotely figure out if this would be a prospect. But like, I guess you technically don't have to. But like, one of the things that I would kind of like to do is, it would basically be me writing a book that would be about like my specific brand of socialism, and I would write it in the form of like a booklet, like a communist manifesto type thing. At the very least, it would be a good merch idea. But I mean, that could also just be like a general broad thing. I mean, I would also like to do merch at one point, but like obviously, I'd have to get bigger before I can do that. But there's also one other project that I would really, really like to do that would be somewhat related to the channel, but again, that wouldn't be technically completely related to the channel, but I'm keeping that a little bit more on the hush-hush, because that would require a lot more work than I am currently able to do. And I don't know if we'll be in a position where we can really do that, but, fingers crossed that maybe I will eventually do it at one point. So, to close it out, I will say, thank you all for your support for the current 8 years that I've been on this channel. Here's to the possibility that I get to do it for 8 more. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the button to find a future video when it comes out. And if you need more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.